Good evening. My presentation is entitled, From Bananas to Robots, a look into the elementary engineering classroom. So today I'm going to take you into my world, into my engineering class at the Dever McCormick Lower. And by the end of this presentation, I will have you convinced that we need engineering in every elementary school in Boston. But first, we're going to take a look at this picture of this beautiful man. For those of you who do not know, that is Elon Musk. He is an engineer. He's most famous for having founded Tesla Motors, which has created electric cars that people actually want to buy. He has proposed the Hyperloop, which is a system where he would put people inside tubes, put those tubes inside a vacuum, and send people from San Francisco to LA in half an hour, all running on solar energy. And he's also developed SpaceX, which is a commercial company that builds rockets, space transportation, and they're reusable. So he's actually sending rockets up and landing them right now, which is insane. And so this is the world we live in right now. This is the present. It seems like the future, but this is the present. Here's what the future does look like. Kathy Davidson, professor at Duke University, says that by one estimate, 65% of children entering school this year will be working in careers that haven't been invented yet. This means our children will be working careers in science, technology, engineering, and we haven't pushed the realms that far yet. So if our present is so technologically complex, how do we prepare our students now for a future that we can't yet envision? Because our children today are going to be the next Elon Musks. Every great innovator, every great engineer, every great scientist, at some point was in kindergarten eating paste. So what do? Here's how we're not going to do this. We're not going to do this with our current model of teaching technology. If you Google image technology classroom, this is the first picture that shows up. This is an old picture. You can tell, but it's also an uncomfortably familiar picture. We see that students are sitting at their desk in front of their computer, one-on-one ratio, and this is important. They all have headphones on. This will make sure they never have to talk to each other. And we know in our heart of hearts this is not the right way to teach. We know this isn't sustainable. So this is my technology classroom Redux. This is my classroom, and here are some of my second graders. And they're working groups. They have computers, but they're not using them for the sake of using computers. They're using them as a tool. And actually, this particular day, we're building robots. So they're using the computers to do the programming. And they also have to do the hard build of the robot itself. And as a group, they need to figure out how to negotiate that. They need to figure out how to do all that together as a team. So there's a lot of forced collaboration there. The first day, I told them that engineers never work alone. And from then on, they have to just figure it out. And they do. And they love it. And it's engaging. So to get here, we need a paradigm shift. We need to stop thinking of our students as users of technology. So this is teaching them things like Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, online research, typing programs. And these are all important things, but they're not the most important things. We want to go from seeing students as users of technology to creators of technology. This is things like computer programming, building an alarm system so your sister doesn't touch your stuff. Fifth graders did that. Or constructing a prototype for a tutu with an accelerometer that lights up when the user moves. And that was done by a colleague of mine in Berkeley, whose student actually was able to make that. So never underestimate the potential that children have. Some more examples. This is the classic engineering lesson, right? Bridge design. This is another one of my second grade classes. And one day when we got to suspension bridges, I just gave them some string and some cardboard and a block, and I said, build a bridge that would hold up this block that spans this length. And so by doing so, they ended up actually just building suspension bridges or building cable-stayed bridges. And then we were able to actually discuss those bridges, talk about things like compression and tension. We also graphed our data, and we were able to use that data to influence our further designs. So we were giving math an application for math. But that wasn't the best part of this unit. The best part was when a student says, but Mr. Lee, how long can we build a suspension bridge? Because I told him it was the strongest type of bridge. So I look at my lesson plan. I look back at the child. I take my lesson plan, I rip it up. Not actually, because there was no paper plan, but I threw it out. And then you just go with it, right? You just let the child lead, and you let them lead the learning, and you see where it ends up, and you just support them along the way. So much of engineering, so much of the power of engineering is giving children the agency to take control of their own learning. And at the end of this, they had this huge suspension bridge. That was a classroom rug of about 9 feet long, and that bridge suspended the entire distance. here is another example. This is my 4th grade classes. For those of you who don't know, 4th graders in Boston need to learn about energy. That's the science content. Now, energy is a very abstract concept. As a somewhat full-grown adult, I kind of have an understanding of energy. But we expect our children to understand it. So to help them understand it, we did a roller coaster design unit with marbles and pipe insulation and whatever the other scraps I have lying around. And so here's Link on the left, and she drops a marble down this pipe insulation, and she realizes it doesn't go very fast. So she steps up on a chair, and now she's taller, she has more potential energy, so she drops it, it goes even faster. But then she realized she's not nearly as tall as her friend Joyce, who's very tall. Joyce is incredibly tall for her age. And so Joy steps up on this chair, and she drops the marble, and it goes even faster. And then Joy carefully looks around, and then she steps up on the table, and drops it, it goes even faster. And then at this point, I look over and I see Joyce. I make eye contact with her. She steps down. So I walk over to her. I say, Joyce, what are you doing? And she says, sorry, Mr. Lee. And I say, you had so much more potential energy when you were up there. Get back on the table. This is going so much faster. That potential energy converted to kinetic energy, and your marble went faster. And I said, do not ever tell a teacher to let you stand on the table. But now we're giving students an application for the science content that they're learning, and they're building, and they're much more involved with it. And I can sell them, if you ever become a roller coaster engineer, you need to know this stuff. So 2nd grade to 4th grade, preschoolers, K1, 4-year-olds, can also do engineering too. And in some ways they're the best engineers because they're not inhibited by anything. So this was a K1 unit. We were building igloos out of milk jugs solicited from our friends and family. And also Garlic Farms. And so we built this amazing igloo, and now they nap inside of it. But at the same time, all-star K1 teacher Jen Langdon was doing reading around polar bears, around the Inuit, around the Arctic. So we're able to tie in engineering and literacy. And this is kind of how it should really look. Engineering should be integrated with all the other content, and that's what's going to be the most powerful. But this isn't the most important reason why we teach engineering. Math and science applications and literacy, these are all important. But the most important reason that we teach engineering is because it's awesome. So I'm going to show you this video of my 5th grader, Yosmar. And he constructed a video game on Scratch. So he did all the programming. Okay, sorry. And he built this maze, and then instead of keyboard controls, he made banana controls.
What happens if I connect it to my hair or something? Will it still work? No, it doesn't work.
You can see his characters here.
I thought it would still work. I think it would hurt too much. Oh no, it doesn't work. Yes! Yes!
It doesn't fit!
Doesn't hurt.
Oh, no.
And I don't know what standard that matches up with, but it's amazing, and I don't care. Wow, we don't like Common Core standards. So I was really going to come up here and make this spiel about how we need this in every school in Boston, but not really thinking we may have this holistic change. All schools in Boston at once, engineering, not really happening in my mind. But then I went to the National Science Teachers Association conference that was in Boston this year. I met a man named Chad Ratliff, who is the district administrator of the Albemarle County Public School System. So I think greater Charlottesville, Virginia area, combination of urban, suburban, and rural communities all in one. And their school system was having some struggles, so his plan was to get engineering K through 12. So that means in every school, elementary, middle, high school, there are 3D printers in the cafeterias and libraries, handsaws, sewing machines, every material from fabric to metals to wood to plastics. And students are building and constructing all the time. But this started with summer schools, with the students who have the most tumultuous relationship with school. And they did summer schools one year where everyone did cardboard engineering with cardboard. And halfway through summer school, they noticed something really interesting. there were students in summer school who weren't supposed to be there. There were children who decided to come to summer school because it was so amazing. And isn't this all we want as educators, as teachers? We just want students to love learning so much that they just want to drown in it. Why would we withhold that? So I have a plan. Here's the game plan. Step 1, an engineering class in every elementary school. Step 2, change the world. We have like a 100-year jump on the next public school system. If we truly claim to be innovators in education, then we need to start providing engineering to all students. This can no longer be content that only students of privilege get access to if they can go to summer camps and do this in their off time as an extracurricular. This is something every child needs, every child deserves. And until we do that, we're not doing justice by our kids. Imagine if any time you walked into an elementary school, you would see students building, engineering, constructing. Imagine if every child saw herself as an engineer. How powerful would that be? Thank you.